Stephen Walker for WI Proud. It's time once again for our Artist of the Month series. We are in October of 2024. Artist of the Month, of course, brought to you by Be Framed Art Galleries in Eau Claire. Our October Artist of the Month is Alex Attardo. Alex, what is your title exactly?
Yeah, so I'm the Artistic Advancement Director at the La Crosse Community Theater.
What does that mean?
That's a great question. So it is a new role within LCT. I was the Director of Education Outreach, was able to now pivot as we reorged. And so we split the Artistic Director title into two parts. So my counterpart, Mary Kate Westling, has artistic in her name and does operations. And I do more of our advancement, new programs coming, development work, so meeting with new donors, new sources of revenue income, and really trying to be a networker and connector within our community in order to get people in the door for theater.
So that really took you from education focused to like community focused.
Yeah. So I did have the outreach portion of my title, but doing education and all the outreach is a lot for one person to balance, especially when starting up a new role that really hasn't existed. The education program at LCT has never historically stuck. It's always been something that's been contracted or part-time or was really just given to the summer. And post-COVID, it was, how do we rework and reframe how education can build community? And so that's really was my focus, and it was smaller. It just has a new fancy title. You might as well just call it development.
Sure. So when little Alex is down in the bayou,
oh yeah,
did he imagine that this would be where the arts would take him?
I never thought I would be in the arts at all. I grew up playing sports. Okay. I grew up, as we called, a club kid. Not as we see it now with. Right. Yeah, with the LGBTQIA plus community, but I played soccer and I traveled around the Gulf Coast playing soccer for Olympic development programs, for what we call like premier soccer, and I really loved it. I didn't start doing theater until I was 15. I got injured for soccer for like the third time with my knees and was like, you know what, Alex, you're not growing. Like, you're not gonna get much taller than you are. There's only so much skill can do when you're playing against people who are 6'2", 6'3", and you're 5'5" and 125 pounds soaking wet. Little Alex thought he was probably honestly gonna be, before theater entered into the realm, I actually wanted to be a vet. Like, that's really what I wanted to do, was be a vet. Before I went to Viterbo, I was actually slated to go to LSU and do pre-vet with a major in bio, and was gonna minor in theater. Once I really was like senior, that's what I like declared what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm never gonna make money in theater. And then I said, you know what, go big or go home, like take a risk and do what you love. Even though I love animals, I decided this was gonna be my future, was to try and create in the arts.
It's shocking to me, but it's also, it makes sense, because this is a little, if it is a little inside baseball. We did Pillow Man together.
Yeah.
And watching you work through the physicality of that is something that sticks with me, but now it makes sense that you were an athlete. How much of that carried through in your performance? All of them, not just that one.
Yeah. Pillow Man was like super fun. It was the first time I ever got the opportunity to do any type of movement storytelling outside of like a classroom assignment in college. And man, I loved it. And I don't get to do that type of movement often, this like super rigid, almost monster-esque style. When we did that show and I read the script, I was like, oh, this is super cool. And I got asked to do movement, and I love being creative. And so that's what my body went to. And it was one of the first times I really got to work and be on a production position where I'm the youngest in the room and I'm creating for a group of peers that I'm still trying to build rapport with, some of which I know-ish, and a lot of people who I didn't, which was super fun to start flexing my collaboration muscles. And so I was really glad I was given a lot of free rein to just explore and run my ideas by. And when things didn't work, we'd collaborate, even as our little group of performers, and figure out, okay, well, that didn't work for me, but how do we get to this moment and still tell the same story?
So, obviously you're into dark storytelling. Yeah. That translates perfectly into working for Disney.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Oh yeah. You know, still frozen.
Right.
I switched my major. Going into my second semester, had 18 months left, and decided to do everything in the theater program that I hadn't done, because as a music theater major, you don't do all the technical elements. You don't do lights, you don't do sound, you don't do costumes and stagecraft. You pick one.
Right.
You don't do all the theater history courses. So I had one entire new theater major, and then I also had the education portion. So I finished out that semester and said, okay, I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to take a gap year and take a break. So 2015 rolls around, and I was like, I've always wanted to do the Disney College program. I had a friend that did it, loved it. You're put up in housing, you have roommates, and you bond. Like, you create a family. You're all working holidays, right? Like, because you're working and creating magic for other people's vacation. And really, Disney is theater. It's all theater. Every single attraction, every single thing that you see is theater. You walk in and you smell popcorn. It's already a sensorial experience. You see the castle, even the way the park is designed, right? It's like you're walking up to things. Everything is built in forced perspective as you're going down Main Street. And I really ended up falling in love with the company. I really did. And man, it really is magical, and it's what you make it, right? In every job there are negatives, and every job there are positives, but the amount of culture you're around, it's the most attended tourist destination in the world is Disney in Orlando. So you're meeting people from all over, people's first times, people celebrating being cancer-free. You have people who are refugees from hurricanes that are coming from all over and trying to get away from things, celebrating divorces and anniversaries and grandma's 100th birthday. You have kids from Make-A-Wish that are there, and it's super humbling that you get to be a part of their experience, and then they'll write in about how you impacted them. That is something that you don't necessarily get in every single job that you do when you can be a frontline employee, and you can do that even as an intern, which is the beauty of Disney. Yes, it is hard.
Thank you for not saying the magic. That would have been really easy for you to say the magic of Disney.
The magic. Here comes Tinkerbell.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I loved it.
So, yeah, there was a distinct grounding in you, I think, when you came back. What brought you back to the Coulee region?
So when I came back after my internship, I had just worked in attractions, where I worked in Dino Land. So I worked like a mousetrap style ride, which is now torn down, rest in peace, Primeval Whirl. And then ended up was one of 6 interns for their education facilitation program, which teaches kids from all over the world. You give tours in the morning to groups of school kids in for the Magic Kingdom or Epcot or Hollywood Studios. Loved it. Ended up, after that experience, moving into conservation education. So I started teaching about animals and working with 4th and 5th grade, and would take them around the parks, and we would do, attractions, but we'd also learn from industry professionals, zookeepers, and conservation experts about how we can be better people and save the environment and prevent as much mass extinction as possible. So I ended up coming back, student teaching, had a semester, student taught, and I said I never wanted to be in the classroom. Moved back to Disney, moved to Denver for a year. It was COVID, and was like, where do you want to be? If this were to happen again, where would you want your network of support to be? And it was either move back to La Crosse or move back to Orlando, because I was in Denver. And I decided La Crosse because I think it's a really special place, artistically, people-wise. Yeah, there's something really magical about La Crosse, and I don't think people recognize that as much as they should, because it's so special.